Welcome, and welcome back if you've been here before. This is Sleepy Historian, and tonight, like so many nights before, we continue our quiet journey through time, where stories are gentle, details are steady, and the past unfolds at just the right pace for rest. If you're new here, this channel is a place for boring history for sleep, slow, soft storytelling designed to help the mind drift and wander. Some people call it a soft-spoken history documentary. Others think of it as calm bedtime storytelling or simply relaxing history to fall asleep to. No matter what brought you here, curiosity, insomnia, or a love for old stories, I'm glad you found this space. Tonight's theme is what ancient healers believed about sleep and the soul. A quiet topic, a thoughtful one that sits at the intersection of belief, medicine, ritual, and mystery. Throughout this video, we'll explore soothing historical details. Nothing too dramatic, nothing too urgent. Just a gentle flow of facts and imagination. We'll drift through ancient homes, listen to the rhythm of forgotten medical theories, and wander calmly through ideas that once shaped the night. If this kind of slow storytelling helps you rest, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if it genuinely brings you peace. And if you'd like, tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. There's something strangely comforting about knowing that somewhere, someone else is quietly falling asleep to these same softened stories. Whether they're fans of Roman history, archaeology, or simply calm narration meant to lull the senses. So now, if the room around you is dim, if the world has quieted enough for rest, allow your breathing to slow, just a little. Let the night feel gentle. Let the past unroll like a scroll. And gently, without urgency, let's begin. Imagine yourself stepping quietly into the world of the ancient Mediterranean, somewhere between the soft glow of early civilization and the stillness of a night that feels unchanged for thousands of years. The air is gentle and cool. The sun has just disappeared beyond the horizon, leaving behind a faint orange memory of daylight. In this world, the transition from waking to sleeping was not merely a biological rhythm. It was a sacred act, a passage, a nightly journey of the soul. The day has ended. The markets, once filled with voices and footsteps, now fall silent. Clay jars are sealed, shutters are closed, and the soft scratch of a reed pen writing in a wax tablet gradually stops. People greet the evening not with screens or electricity, but with flickering oil lamps whose flame moves almost like breath, slow, steady, and mesmerizing. Sleep was something ancient healers knew to treat with respect. In their understanding, the body and soul were deeply interconnected, and sleep was the moment when this connection could loosen, just slightly, allowing dreams to carry knowledge, warnings, or even healing. Inside a modest home, the room is simple. The sleeping area is often just a raised platform of wood or packed earth. Some rest on woven mats or stuffed bedding filled with wool, straw, or feathers. The smell of herbs drifts through the air, lavender, fennel, myrtle, or mint, not just for comfort, but believed to soothe the spirit and protect the sleeper from wandering energies or troubling dreams. A healer of this era would advise a gentle evening routine. They might suggest drinking warm water infused with chamomile or crushed poppy seed. They believed these substances soften the boundaries between waking thought and dream. As the darkness deepens, daily noise fades into a soft, steady quiet. You can almost hear the rhythmic pattern of someone preparing for rest, the slow fold of a cloak, the faint sound of pottery being placed down, the gentle exhale before lying still. People believed that during sleep, the soul drifted not far, not dangerously, but enough to gather wisdom from the unseen. Dreams were not random. They were messages. Some thought they came from gods, others from the deep memory of the body, and some from realms beyond human understanding. And so, bedtime was never rushed. It was approached the way one approaches prayer, with respect, intention, and calm. The healer would remind their patient that restful sleep required balance, the right food, the right mindset, and a room of gentle silence. Tonight, In this imagined past, a small clay lamp burns beside a sleeper's resting place. Its flame sways softly, creating slow-moving shadows that stretch across plaster walls. Outside, a dog may bark once and then quiet down again. The sky above is full of stars, more than we could ever see now. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing demands attention. The rhythm of ancient life unfolds at the same slow pace as the breath of someone drifting towards sleep. And as the healer observes the person resting, calm, peaceful, and unburdened, they believe they are witnessing something delicate, the soul preparing to step gently into the realm of night. As night settles more deeply across the ancient landscape, the quiet rhythms of sleep preparation continue with gentle deliberation. The healer's understanding of rest is not simply physical. It belongs to a delicate balance between the natural world, the body, and the unseen forces believed to move around and through human life. In many early cultures, Egyptian, Babylonian, Greek, Indian, and others, sleep was approached as a kind of ritual transition. Not every night was ceremonial, yet the act of lying down carried meaning. The body was still, while the mind wandered to realms where waking reason could not fully follow. For most people, bedtime began with a moment of reflection. Some murmured a small prayer, grateful for the day's survival, hopeful for another. Others shared quiet conversation with family members. There was no sense of urgency, no glowing screens or sudden bursts of stimulation. Instead, darkness acted as a natural reminder that the day had completed its course. Slowly, the fire in a household hearth would fade. Shadows lengthened, and the gentle scent of smoldering would drifted across small rooms. The healer, if present, sometimes observed in silence, listening to the faint rhythms of breath and sensing whether rest would come easily or require subtle guidance. Many believed dreams were messages. A dream might warn, encourage, or reveal hidden truth. The healer could be consulted not only for physical ailments, but for difficult dreams, restless nights, or persistent sleeplessness. They might recommend wearing an amulet carved with symbols representing protection, wisdom, or peace. Some amulets were simple, a stone polished by time. Others were inscribed with prayers or ancient characters believed to influence unseen energies. The room remained simple. Stone or clay walls, soft mats, wooden chests, objects practical and sparse. Yet, despite this simplicity, nothing felt empty. Life was slower, quieter, and every choice carried intention. The rhythm of existence was guided by nature. Sunrise meant work and movement. Sunset meant rest and reflection. A healer might walk the household before rest, checking that lamps were safely tended and children comforted. Some households placed a small bowl of fragrant oil near bedding, not only for scent, but because fragrance itself was believed to connect the body to memory, emotion, and spirit. The moment before sleep was often filled with stillness. No rush, no demand, just quiet breathing and the softness of darkness. The world beyond the home continued its subtle sounds. Wind moving through reeds, distant footsteps, perhaps the faint cry of a night bird. These noises were familiar and unthreatening, and people drifted into slumber without trying to force rest. And gradually, sleep came. Calm, steady, unhurried. The healer understood that too much stimulation before sleep could unsettle the spirit. Loud arguments, heavy meals, excessive excitement. All were avoided when possible. The goal was balance. A night of peaceful rest meant the next day would begin with renewed strength and clearer thought. In this quiet ancient home, a family sleeps. Their dreams are shaped by memory, belief, and imagination. To them, the sleeping body is never merely resting. It is traveling. Somewhere between waking and dreaming, the boundary softens. Breath deepens. The flame of the lamp finally dims. And the healer, satisfied, allows the night to take its natural course. Now, as the night deepens further, imagine time passing slowly, so slowly that each breath feels like its own gentle chapter of existence. The household sleeps, And yet, in the understanding of ancient healers, this moment is not merely the absence of wakefulness. To them, sleep was an active state, subtle, layered, and mysterious. In many cultures, the soul was believed to travel during the night. Not far, not permanently, but enough that a person might encounter visions, forgotten memories, or symbolic messages. Some healers believed the soul floated just above the sleeping body, like a quiet companion. Others imagined it journeying through hidden realms, guided by unseen forces or benevolent spirits. And some believed that dreams came from deep within the body, shaped by food, emotion, and the flow of inner energy. Sleep represented a return to something essential. In a waking state, people labored, worried, bargained, and endured the rhythms of society. But in sleep, they returned to their truest form, quiet, vulnerable, and open to wisdom that daily life might obscure. The healer understood these beliefs intimately. In their practice, sleep was both a remedy and a diagnostic tool. A person who slept well was balanced, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. A person plagued by nightmares, insomnia, or restless stirring required careful attention. Herbal mixtures were one method of care, but so were gentle rituals. A healer might softly recite words meant to soothe the spirit, phrases passed down from teacher to student, from ancestor to descendant. These incantations were not loud or commanding. They were soft, steady, rhythmic, like waves brushing the shore or the slow exhale before sleep. The home remains silent. The faint glow of the oil lamp grows weaker as its fuel diminishes. The night outside is full, but not overwhelming. Cicadas, crickets, or distant rustling weave unnoticed through the stillness, forming a natural lullaby. The ancient world slept without haste, without interruption, without artificial light. Darkness was not something to resist. It was something to enter gradually. Sometimes a sleeper stirred slightly, perhaps shifting position, perhaps responding to a dream. In those subtle movements, the healer saw meaning. A furrowed brow might suggest unresolved emotions. A calm, steady breath suggested harmony. Even the posture of sleep was read like a quiet scroll of the body's inner story. And through all of this, the healer maintained a calm awareness. Not anxious, not intrusive, simply observant. They believed sleep should never be forced. Instead, it should be invited, like an honored guest, with patience and gentle intention. Hours pass in this imagined night. The rhythmic breath of the sleepers remains steady. Dreams rise and fall like small waves beneath the surface of consciousness. The healer knows that when the sun rises, the household will awaken with a refreshed body and a renewed spirit. Slowly, the lamp's flame trembles and fades into darkness. Nothing more needs to happen. The night simply continues its quiet work. Now, gently, we shift from the daily rhythms of ordinary ancient life to the story of a single figure, someone whose thoughts helped shape how people understood sleep, dreams, and the soul. For this portion of our quiet exploration, imagine ancient Greece during the classical period. The world is full of ideas, debate, and careful observation. Temples rise from white limestone, markets hum with slow conversation, and scholars gather in quiet courtyards to exchange theories about the body, the cosmos, and human existence. Among these thinkers was Hippocrates, a healer whose influence would ripple far beyond his lifetime. Today, he is often remembered as the father of medicine, but to ancient people, he was simply a thoughtful observer of life, illness, and the gentle mysteries of the human condition. Hippocrates did not approach sleep as a spiritual journey alone. Instead, he believed that sleep reflected the balance of the body itself. To him, sleep was a natural and necessary process, something that restored strength, allowed the body to recover, and reflected its internal harmony. He wrote that sleep occurred when the body's warmth and moisture withdrew inward, and waking returned when they moved outward again. It may sound unfamiliar now, yet in his time, this explanation felt reasonable, even elegant. The world of medicine then was rooted in what could be seen, sensed, or inferred, not through machines or laboratories, but through patient observation. Imagine Hippocrates seated quietly beside a low wooden table, writing on parchment. Oil lamps flicker beside him. The ink flows slowly from his reed pen. He pauses, thinking carefully before writing each line. His goal is not personal fame, but clarity, an understanding of how the body and soul interact during the vulnerable hours of rest. He observed that when people slept poorly, when they experienced disturbed breathing, persistent nightmares, or tossing and turning, something internal was out of balance. Sometimes the cause was emotional distress, grief, fear, anger, or unresolved tension. Other times, food played a role. Eating too much or too little could shape dreams in ways that felt meaningful or unsettling. He believed dreams could reflect the state of the body. A dream of fire, for example, might mean excess heat within. A dream of water might reflect imbalance of moisture. These ideas were not meant to frighten, but to help healers better understand the subtle signals the body offered. Hippocrates also studied the environment. He noticed that quiet spaces help create deeper rest. He advised fresh air, gentle evening meals, and a calm mind before sleep. Though his understanding differed from mystical beliefs, his approach was still gentle and respectful. He saw sleep not as a passive state, but as one of nature's most essential medicines. In his lifetime, students gathered around him, not to memorize facts, but to learn a way of thinking, a way of watching carefully, a way of listening to the quiet rhythms of the body and observing how sleep could reveal its hidden needs. Tonight, as we imagine him working under lamplight, there is no urgency, no argument, no dramatic discovery, only steady thought, the slow unfolding of reasoning. He pauses once more, studying the silent night around him. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks and then falls silent again. The stars remain steady overhead, and Hippocrates continues writing, quietly shaping ideas that would guide healers for centuries to come. As we continue, allow the quiet world of ancient thought to remain steady around you. The night remains calm, the air still, and the soft glow of imagination stays gentle and unhurried. From Hippocrates, we move, still in the ancient Greek world, but forward toward another mind whose ideas shape beliefs about sleep and the soul. Aristotle. Aristotle approached the natural world with a slow, methodical curiosity. Where others saw mystery, he sought patterns. Where some relied purely on inherited belief, he observed and questioned. His writings explored plants, animals, weather, memory, movement, and thought itself. And among these careful reflections, he also turned his attention to sleep. To Aristotle, sleep was not something supernatural or untouchable. Instead, it was a natural consequence of life, a necessary part of being a living creature. He believed that sleep was caused by the warming and cooling of the body's inner processes, especially those related to digestion. After eating, he observed warmth collected in the chest. As that warmth shifted and settled, the body's senses gently withdrew and sleep followed. This idea may seem distant from modern science, yet in Aristotle's time, it represented structure, observation, and careful reasoning. He was not dismissing the soul. Rather, he was attempting to understand how the physical body influenced the mind's nighttime journey. Aristotle also explored dreams with a thoughtful calm. He did not believe they came from gods or spirits. Instead, he believed dreams were formed from impressions of waking life, memories, sensations, and emotions that lingered quietly in the body after the mind had withdrawn from the world. In his view, dreams revealed not prophecy, but perception. They communicated subtle information the waking mind may have overlooked, patterns the senses detected, but reason had not yet processed. Imagine Aristotle walking through a quiet garden at dusk, perhaps near his school, the Lyceum. The pathways are soft with dust, olive leaves rustle faintly overhead, and a fountain murmurs steadily nearby. His steps are slow, measured, his hands loosely folded behind his back as he considers the nature of sleeping beings, humans, animals, perhaps even the rhythms of plants closing for the night. He observed animals drifting into sleep and noted similarities between species. To him, sleep was universal, a shared thread woven across the living world. Even the smallest creature closed its eyes and surrendered to rest. Aristotle's tone was rarely mystical. His writing style, calm, logical, and steady, created an early framework for the natural study of sleep. In doing so, he influenced physicians, philosophers, scholars, and students for centuries. While mystical healers believed that dreams carried messages from divine realms, Aristotle softened that idea. Dreams, he suggested, reflected the inner landscape of the sleeper, the subtle motions of thought rather than the distant voices of gods. Yet, even with this grounded view, Aristotle acknowledged sleep as powerful, essential, and deeply connected to life's rhythm. He wrote that no creature could remain awake indefinitely. To resist sleep was to resist nature itself. Tonight, in this slow and imagined scene, Aristotle pauses in his walk. A cool breeze moves through the courtyard. The sky grows darker. In the stillness, even a great thinker allows the night to gently guide the mind toward rest. One quiet thought at a time, sleep becomes less of a puzzle or a danger and more of a natural refuge. Now we continue, gently staying within the ancient Greek world, moving from personal beliefs and quiet philosophical thought toward the healing spaces where sleep was not only understood but practiced as a method of treatment. While Hippocrates and Aristotle shaped ideas around sleep and the workings of the body and soul, it was within the sanctuaries of Asclepios, the god of healing, that sleep became something sacred, purposeful, and transformative. These places, known as Asclepia, were scattered throughout the ancient Mediterranean, though one of the most renowned rested at Epidaurus. People traveled long distances to reach these healing sanctuaries. The journey itself was considered part of the process, allowing time for the body to transition from daily life into a space of reflection and peace. Upon arrival, visitors encountered a quiet and carefully designed environment. The air carried a faint mixture of wild herbs, sun-warmed stone, and distant pine. Gardens surrounded the sanctuary, full of calming plants such as laurel, lavender, and sage. Soft pathways wound through courtyards where travelers walked slowly, preparing themselves for the ritual of healing sleep. This process was called incubation, a kind of intentional rest where a sleeper hoped to receive a dream sent by Asclepios. These dreams were not believed to be random. Instead, they were thought to carry guidance, remedies, or messages that could help restore balance to both body and soul. Before entering the sleeping chamber, the visitor often underwent purification rituals. A gentle cleansing in cool water, quiet prayer, and offerings, perhaps honey cakes, small coins, or carved tokens, were given not as payment, but as gestures of respect. Inside the sleeping hall, known as the abaton, the world became still. The room was large, dim, and quiet. Columns rose into shadow, and stone floors echoed softly under slow footsteps. Lamps burned with faint, steady flames, never too bright, never startling. Healers, wearing simple robes, spoke quietly, offering guidance or simple reassurance. And then the sleeper lay down. The bedding was simple, sometimes woven mats or soft hides, arranged neatly in rows. People settled into their places without talking. A shared calmness filled the space. Many had come seeking help not only for physical pain or illness, but for restlessness, anxiety, or dreams that troubled the spirit. As the darkness deepened, the sanctuary grew silent. Sleep arrived gently, not rushed but invited. And in that sleep, many believed Asclepios would appear, not always directly, but sometimes as a symbol, a snake, a beam of sunlight, a gentle breeze, or the sound of water. Dreams were considered messages requiring interpretation. The next morning, Sleepers often shared their dreams with priests or trained interpreters. Some dreams encouraged certain actions: rest, dietary changes, herbal remedies. Others offered reassurance, reminding the dreamer that healing was already unfolding quietly within them. These sanctuaries blended belief and observation, ritual and care. Whether or not divine intervention took place exactly as described, something undeniably soothing existed in the ritual itself. The slow transition into calm, the respect given to the sleeping body, the belief that rest could speak. In this way, ancient healing sleep was more than a physical necessity. It was a practice of trust. Trust in the body, trust in rest, trust in the quiet wisdom that emerges only when the world grows still. Even now, imagining that quiet stone chamber, the rows of resting figures, and the slow flicker of lamplight can feel calming, like a distant echo of a shared human understanding. That sleep is not only rest, but renewal. Now, gently, we step away from named philosophers and specific healers, and instead drift into the mysterious realm of ancient beliefs. Beliefs preserved through fragments of tablets, ritual objects, carved inscriptions, and archaeological remains. These remnants help us piece together how ancient civilizations understood the link between sleep, dreams, and the soul. For many ancient cultures, dreams were not simply memories reshaped by the mind. Instead, they were pathways, channels through which unseen forces could communicate with the living. Sleep was viewed not solely as rest, but as a threshold between worlds. Archaeologists uncovering ancient sleep-related artifacts often describe a recurring feeling when examining objects, a sense of quiet reverence. Small carved amulets, clay figurines, old stones, and fragments of ritual texts reveal how carefully ancient people protected the vulnerability of sleep. In Mesopotamia, thousands of years before Hippocrates or Aristotle, dream interpretation was already a formal practice. Clay tablets describe entire systems of decoding nighttime visions. Some tablets reassure: if one dreams of walking through a calm garden, it may signal prosperity or protection. Others warn: encountering certain animals or symbols may suggest imbalance, danger, or change. These tablets are quiet now, resting in museum cases under gentle light, but their inscriptions speak softly of a world where nighttime visions carried powerful meaning. Archaeologists have also uncovered sleep-related objects from ancient Egypt. Among them are headrests carved from wood, stone, or ivory. These strange, curved supports lifted the head during sleep rather than cushioning it. Their purpose went beyond comfort. Many believed raising the head allowed the soul, known as the Ba, to safely move between the body and the spiritual realm during the night. Some headrests were inscribed with protective spells or symbols of gods associated with dreams, healing, or rebirth. To the ancient Egyptians, sleep was a rehearsal of sorts, an echo of the final rest that all humans eventually met. It was not approached with fear. Instead, it was a cycle, a rhythm woven into the fabric of existence. Further east, in ancient India, early texts describe sleep as one of the essential pillars of life. Dream states were categorized and explored with detailed curiosity. Some dreams were believed to reflect desires, others the workings of the subtle body. A rare few were said to reveal truths hidden beneath ordinary thought. Across these cultures, sleep held shared qualities: stillness, vulnerability, mystery, and possibility. And across archaeological sites, burial chambers, homes, temples, and ritual spaces, tools connected to sleep continue to appear. Pieces of aromatic resins burned before bedtime, jars of calming oils, carved charms bearing symbols of protection, and images of sleeping figures accompanied by animals, celestial patterns, or mythical beings. It is difficult to know exactly what ancient sleepers felt from night to night. Archaeology gives us fragments, not full stories. Yet the careful placement of objects near sleeping spaces suggests something consistent. Great care was taken to protect the soul during its nightly wandering. To fall asleep was to release control. To dream was to travel. These ideas do not demand belief from us now. Instead, they invite quiet reflection. Even today, in a world filled with light, noise, and distraction, sleep retains an air of mystery. We do not fully understand why dreams take certain shapes or how memory and imagination interlace so effortlessly when a mind grows quiet. The artifacts left behind, stone, clay, metal, ink, remind us that long before modern science, human beings watched the night, wondered, and searched for meaning in the realm of dreams. And as we imagine these ancient objects resting in soft museum light or buried still beneath layers of earth, the quiet truth remains. Sleep has always been more than darkness and rest. It has been a doorway, one that every person, everywhere, crosses in silence. Among the more intriguing archaeological discoveries related to ancient sleep are objects that appear, at first glance, decorative or symbolic, but through closer study reveal intentional links to protection, safety, and peace during the night. In ancient Greece, small terracotta figurines depicting sleepers have been recovered from graves and domestic sites. Some show a reclining figure with eyes gently closed, hands resting across the chest. Others depict children or infants wrapped in patterned blankets. Scholars debate their exact role. Were they offerings? Protective charms? Representations of divine or ancestral guardianship? No single answer exists. Instead, these artifacts offer a quiet reminder that sleep was regarded as something sacred, something that required respect and ritual. In many cultures, sleep was closely tied to celestial rhythms. The stars and moon were seen as guides or watchers. Some archaeological finds include carved representations of lunar phases placed near resting spaces. These carvings may have marked the passage of time, or they may have served as gentle reminders that sleep was part of a larger natural rhythm. One particularly fascinating category of objects is the dream incantation bowl, unearthed mostly in regions of the Middle East dating to late antiquity. These bowls are inscribed with protective text spiraling inward, creating a circular boundary of words. Some inscriptions call upon divine guardians, while others seek to calm disturbances of the night, restless thoughts, nightmares, or wandering spirits. Holding such a bowl, one imagines the care taken by ancient hands, the carving of letters, the slow rotation as the text spiraled inward, the intention of protection. These bowls were often buried under the floor near resting spaces, hidden but present, offering silent reassurance. In ancient China, sleep was considered essential to maintaining harmony between the inner body and the outer world. Archaeological evidence reveals the use of jade tokens and carved objects placed beside pillows. Jade, believed to carry protective and balancing properties, symbolized purity and alignment. Even now, in some parts of Asia, jade ornaments or stones are kept close during the night, not as superstition, but as tradition passed gently from generation to generation. Throughout archaeological archives, there are also traces of nighttime rituals, burned incense resin, charred herbs, and remnants of oil lamps. Light, scent, and the presence of fire were often used to transition the body and mind into stillness. The flame of a lamp, flickering softly in a quiet room, carried symbolic meaning, guidance into the dream realm and safety through the night. Even now, modern life echoes these ancient practices in small ways. A warm drink before bed, a soft light, a meaningful object placed near where one rests. Ritual and habit remain companions to sleep, though stripped of myth and surrounded instead by science. Yet even with all that science has uncovered, mystery remains. The subconscious, the dream state, the deep silence of sleep. None can be fully mapped or measured. And perhaps that is part of what continues to connect us to ancient sleepers. A shared experience of entering, every night, a space beyond full understanding. The archaeological record shows not fear, but reverence. These artifacts do not speak of dread. They reflect trust. A trust in cycles. A trust in renewal. a trust in the idea that rest is not absence, but participation in something larger. Imagine a quiet room thousands of years ago. The heat of the day has faded. Oil lamps glow softly against clay walls. A carved amulet rests beside a headrest or pillow. A gentle scent of herbs lingers, calming the air. A person lies down. Breath slows. Eyes close. The body becomes still. Nothing dramatic. Nothing loud. Just the universal, ancient moment of surrendering to sleep. And in that moment, across cultures, across centuries, across the boundaries of language and belief, something remains unchanged. Night arrives, the world quiets, and the sleeper journeys inward. As we follow the trail of archaeological evidence across continents, we begin to notice patterns, not of identical practices, but of shared understanding. Sleep, in nearly every culture, was seen as more than biological necessity. It was a passage, a transition, a space where the ordinary softened into something deeply meaningful. Among the indigenous cultures of the Americas, anthropologists have discovered ceremonial objects crafted specifically for dream protection and guidance. Some tribes believe dreams helped guide life decisions, strengthen identity, or maintain balance between the seen and unseen realms. One recurring artifact is the woven circular frame often associated with dream guardianship. Though interpretations vary, many versions hold the belief that gentle dreams are allowed to pass through while troubling or restless dreams dissolve with the light of morning. These objects were not merely decorations. They were made slowly, intentionally. Feathers, beads, wood, sinew, each piece held meaning. They were placed where one slept, not as a barrier, but as a companion to the night. Far to the south, in areas once inhabited by the Maya, archaeological excavations have uncovered painted murals and carved symbols depicting beings associated with dreams, celestial vision, and night journeys. Some inscriptions describe the soul traveling through layered cosmic landscapes during deep sleep, encountering guides, animals, ancestors, or spiritual figures. The Maya were extraordinary observers of time and rhythm, and their understanding of sleep intertwined with astronomical cycles, moon phases, planetary motion, and sacred calendars. Rest was not random. It was aligned with the world above and the world within. Across the ocean, in the Pacific Islands, oral histories and archaeological findings suggest that dreams played a role in decision-making, navigation, and community guidance. Chiefs, navigators, and spiritual caretakers would sometimes retreat into extended rest periods before making important choices or leading long sea voyages. Sleep was preparation, not withdrawal. Similarly, in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, archaeologists and ethnographers have documented stone carvings, beads, and symbolic objects associated with night protection. Some communities believed ancestors communicated through dreams, offering wisdom or reassurance. Sleep bridged generations, linking the living with those who came before. What is striking across all these findings is a sense of tenderness. The night was not treated casually. The transition into sleep carried intention, and the tools supporting it were created with care and meaning. Archaeology reminds us that early humans were not merely surviving. They were reflecting, feeling, observing, and seeking harmony. Even the simplest objects, smooth stones worn down by touch, strands of woven fiber, softly patterned textiles, carry a kind of quiet knowledge. They whisper of hands that shaped them, of rituals repeated over lifetimes, of nights filled with trust. There's a moment in archaeological study when an artifact is lifted gently from the earth after centuries of silence. Some researchers describe sensing, not a story fully understood, but a presence. A reminder that someone long ago lived a night much like ours. A long day fading, quiet gathering, body becoming still, breath slowing. Archaeology cannot tell us every detail. It cannot recreate the sound of wind against ancient homes, the scent of firewood drifting through a sleeping space, or the cadence of lullabies once sung softly into darkness. but it can remind us that rest has always been precious. Across thousands of years, across diverse beliefs and landscapes, sleep held meaning. A time for renewal, a time for connection, a time for peace. And as we reflect on these fragments of the past, something gentle becomes clear. Even in a world now filled with constant movement, light, and noise, the quiet traditions of ancient sleep still echo. They encourage slowness. They encourage intention. They remind us that rest deserves space, sacred space. Not rushed, not forced, simply welcomed. Because, like those who lived long before us, we too cross a threshold each night, leaving the waking world behind and entering a realm where thought becomes fluid and experience becomes softer. And in that nightly journey, perhaps we carry forward something ancient, a quiet belief that rest is more than pause, is a return. As we shift into the final segment of our gentle exploration, imagine once more that you are drifting through history, unhurried and observant. We leave the archaeological world of symbols and beliefs, and now step into the lived experience of sleep among ancient societies, where status, wealth, and identity shaped not only the rhythms of daily life, but also the conditions of rest. Let us begin in ancient Mesopotamia, one of the earliest cradles of urban life. Here, sleep varied depending on one's place in society. The wealthy often slept on raised wooden beds, sometimes covered with soft textiles woven from wool or linen. The rooms were modest by modern standards, yet carefully arranged to create an atmosphere of order and comfort. Small lamps made of clay glowed faintly in the nighttime quiet, their flames steady and low. For ordinary families, sleeping spaces were less formal and more communal. Many slept on mats or woven reeds placed directly on the floor. These mats were rolled and stored during the day to make room for daily tasks. In warm seasons, some households slept outdoors upon flat rooftops, where cool night breezes drifted across the open sky. Despite differences in comfort, there was a shared understanding across all social levels. Night was a time of vulnerability. Locks, rituals, prayers, and amulets were common, serving not only practical purposes, but emotional ones, symbols of reassurance against unseen forces. From Mesopotamia, let us drift toward ancient Egypt. Here, sleep also carried cultural significance shaped by rank and wealth. The elite sometimes slept on carefully built wooden beds with woven supports. Some beds curved slightly upward at the foot, designed to cradle the body in a gentle arc. Headrests, smooth, carved blocks of wood or stone, supported the neck rather than the full head. To modern sleepers accustomed to soft pillows, the idea may feel unfamiliar. Yet these structured supports were believed to maintain alignment and preserve the body's vitality. The working classes slept more simply: linen mats, layered reeds, or tightly bound straw. Yet even the humblest of homes in Egypt displayed symbols of protection. The eye of Horus, the scarab beetle, the ankh, these were more than ornaments. They served as anchors of spiritual calm. Moving forward in time, ancient Rome offers another window into the varied world of sleep. Among the wealthy, sleeping chambers could include decorated walls, carved lampstands, and finely layered blankets. Some elite Romans even embraced the custom of multiple rest periods, short naps during the day paired with tranquil sleep at night. Sleep could be seen as a refinement, a marker of controlled luxury. Meanwhile, ordinary Roman citizens lived very differently. Crowded housing, noise from streets and marketplaces, and a hectic pace of labor meant sleep was often interrupted or improvised. Some workers slept in the same space where they cooked, stored possessions, or welcomed family. Rest was practical, sometimes fragmented, sometimes communal, rarely luxurious. And yet, even in the crowded quarters of lower-class Romans, small gestures of comfort remained. A clay oil lamp near the sleeping mat, a bronze charm or small figurine placed beside the resting body. A belief that the night, while quiet, was not empty. Across cultures, from Mesopotamia to Egypt to Rome, patterns emerge. The wealthy experience sleep as an extension of status, carefully designed, ornamented, protected. The poor experience sleep as a necessity. Simple, functional, sometimes scarce. Yet the boundary between these groups blurs when we examine their emotional relationship to sleep. Among all ranks, sleep was treated as meaningful, a threshold moment where the body withdrew and the soul or spirit traveled inward or beyond. It reminds us that while environments may differ, the essence of resting remains universal. A quieting, a settling, a surrender to rhythm. As you imagine these ancient scenes, lamplight, woven mats, soft textiles, open rooftops, allow your own breath to slow. The past grows gentle here. The night remains calm. And in that calm, one truth becomes steady. Across centuries and across status, every person, farmer, artisan, priest, child, merchant, noble, eventually closed their eyes and entered the same silent world of rest. The world where thoughts dissolve, muscles soften, and sleep becomes not a privilege or a burden, but a quiet human constant. As we continue exploring how sleep reflected social structure in the ancient world, we now move gently toward the realm of dreams. Not only as personal experiences, but as tools of leadership, governance, and belief. In many ancient societies, the dreams of rulers were treated with exceptional seriousness. Kings, queens, pharaohs, and high priests often had dedicated interpreters, individuals trained to read symbolism, emotion, celestial signs, and subtle patterns believed to arise from the world of spirits or ancestors. These interpreters formed a quiet yet powerful link between night and policy. In Babylon, for example, dream manuals have been discovered, clay tablets inscribed in cuneiform, listing hundreds of dream symbols alongside their meanings. A dream of clear flowing water suggested peace. A dream of fire might indicate conflict or transformation. A dream of birds in flight could signify divine communication. These symbols were not random. They formed part of a structured worldview where the night existed as a parallel channel of knowledge. For rulers, dreams were not simply experienced. They were evaluated. In ancient Egypt, where the boundary between mortal and divine was believed thin, pharaohs often slept in sanctuaries or temple spaces reserved for ritual dreaming. Stone beds, incense, and sacred inscriptions shaped the sleeping environment. Dreams of gods, ancestors, or cosmic order were seen as messages to guide leadership. Many temples included separate chambers specifically for incubation, a practice in which individuals slept intentionally to seek healing, prophecy, or guidance. Ordinary people did not have access to such sacred spaces, yet they also practiced their own subtle forms of dream preparation. Some would recite simple prayers, leave offerings, or place protective charms beneath their pillows. Whether wealthy or modest, many believed that the night carried meaning. Moving forward again to ancient Greece and Rome, dream interpretation became slightly more philosophical. While ordinary individuals might still consult oracles or ask priests for meaning, scholars approached dreams with curiosity, exploring whether they reflected health, emotional concerns, or unresolved thought. Sleep became a landscape where the rational and the mysterious overlapped. In imperial Rome, some emperors kept personal dream scribes, quiet attendants responsible for writing down dreams upon waking. These records influenced decisions, travel, alliances, and timing. Wars were delayed, treaties adjusted, and architectural plans revised, all because of nighttime visions. These practices reveal an interesting contrast. Even those with immense power approached sleep with humility. No amount of authority could prevent vulnerability, uncertainty, or the quiet workings of the unconscious mind. While an emperor could command armies, direct trade routes, or commission monuments, he could not fully control dreams. Meanwhile, outside palace walls, civilian life continued at its own rhythm. People worked, shared meals, watched the sky darken, and prepared to rest. Their dreams might not have shaped policy, but they still shaped meaning. A dream could comfort a grieving parent, warn a traveler, or inspire a poet. Sleep bridged the gap between social rank and common humanity. The powerful and the humble alike entered the same soft unknown each night. Across civilizations, one truth reappears. Night does not belong purely to one group. It is a shared terrain. A wealthy ruler may sleep on carved wood covered in layers of dyed linen. A laborer may rest on woven reeds beneath an open sky. In the stillness, their breath follows the same slow rhythm. Their bodies surrender to the same heaviness. Their dreams rise from the same deep inner quiet. And even now, centuries later, historians and archaeologists continue uncovering subtle clues about how societies slept, how they dreamt, and how they understood the boundary between day and night. What remains constant is not the material or ritual differences, but the universal experience, the steady closing of eyes, the release into stillness, and the gentle passage into sleep. Tonight, as you reflect on these ancient beds, chambers, charms, and rituals, allow yourself to recognize a continuity with those who lived long before, not through grandeur or symbolism, but through something peaceful and simple. The human body rests, the mind drifts, and sleep comes. As we approach the end of our journey through the ancient understanding of sleep and the soul, let us pause in a quieter space, a place not tied to rulers or temples, but to ordinary lives lived slowly across generations. While palaces and sacred chambers tell one story, the experience of sleep for most people throughout history was shaped by routine, necessity, and community rather than ritual grandeur. In many ancient towns and villages, sleep was not entirely private. Homes were often small, sometimes consisting of a single room shared by several family members, spanning multiple generations. Children fell asleep beside parents or siblings, sometimes tucked under simple blankets made from woven fibers, animal skins, or will soften with time. The breath of others nearby, steady, rhythmic, familiar, offered comfort. Sleep sounded like soft conversation fading into silence, distant footsteps of livestock settling for the night, and embers crackling gently in a fading hearth. For many, darkness was not absolute. Moonlight filtered through doorways or windows without glass. Lamps, fueled by oil or animal fat, were sometimes left burning low, not to illuminate activity, but to steady the mind against the uncertainty of night. In colder regions, sleep became collective warmth. Families, and sometimes even travelers or neighbors, stayed close to conserve heat. Sleep was practical and shared, shaped by survival rather than preference. Some communities divided sleep into phases. Instead of one uninterrupted rest, many experienced what historians now call segmented or biphasic sleep. After a first period of deep rest, the sleeper would wake gently sometime near the midpoint of the night. This waking period was often calm, unhurried, and reflective. People might tend to the fire, sip water or warm liquid, speak softly, pray, stretch, or simply rest awake in the darkness before drifting naturally into a second sleep. This rhythm, now unusual in many societies, was once completely ordinary. Other cultures experienced extended sleep only during certain seasons. In places with long winters, people rested more during cold months and shortened their sleep during busy agricultural seasons. Sleep followed cycles of weather, daylight, and work, not the structure of fixed schedules. Even without science or modern terminology, ancient people intuitively understood the body's shifting needs. Another striking feature is how deeply sleep was accepted. While modern societies often speak of sleep as a productivity tool, ancient communities seem to view it as a simple, unavoidable truth, neither indulgence nor inconvenience. Sleep restored strength. Sleep reset the mood. Sleep prepared the body for labor, thought, travel, and ritual. No matter the tools or beliefs surrounding it, sleep was part of the rhythm of living, woven into the daily, seasonal, and spiritual cycles of ancient life. And although wealth shaped comfort, it did not erase vulnerability. Whether in a humble cottage or a royal suite, night softened every voice and slowed every heartbeat. No amount of power or poverty could prevent the body from seeking rest. As you picture these scenes, soft firelight across clay walls, woven blankets, families resting close together, slow night awakenings. Allow yourself to imagine the stillness. A stillness without urgency, without noise, without the constant glow of artificial light. A world where sleep belonged to everyone. Across vast distances, across thousands of years, human beings have always returned to the quiet of night. Though beliefs differed, some saw sleep as healing, others as divine communication, others as a biological rhythm. The act itself remained universal. To close the eyes, to release thought, to drift. This part of history is not dramatic or loud. It does not speak of battles or discovery. Instead, it reflects the ordinary, the gentle, and the deeply familiar. And perhaps that is why it endures so quietly, because this is the part of history we still live every night. Sleep, in all its forms, has always been part of what it means to be human. And now, as we drift gently out of the ancient world and back into the quiet of the present moment, allow the ideas we explored to settle softly in your thoughts. We have moved slowly through time, through temples and sleeping chambers, through healing sanctuaries and archaeological traces, through dreams once believed to carry messages from gods, ancestors, or the deep inner self. We explored how healers, philosophers, rulers, and ordinary people understood the mystery of sleep and the quiet wandering of the soul. Across all these landscapes, patterns emerged. A universal need for rest, a shared curiosity about dreams, and a gentle awareness that sleep was never just absence, but presence, stillness, and meaning. The people we imagine tonight lived long ago, yet in their nightly routines, the settling breath, the closing eyes, the slow release of daylight, we can still recognize something familiar, something unchanged. Because while the world around us continues to shift and accelerate, the human body continues to seek the same refuge it always has, a place of rest, of calm, of soft forgetting. So as you lie here now, perhaps already floating near sleep, let the past give you comfort instead of distance. The same rhythms that carried ancient farmers, scribes, physicians, artisans, and rulers in a slumber still live quietly within you. The world around you may feel different, filled with artificial light, constant noise, and unending movement, but the inner rhythm remains ancient, steady, familiar. Your breath continues, your body softens, your mind grows quiet, and like those who slept beneath temple ceilings, under woven blankets, beside soft lamps, or beneath open skies, you step gently toward the same timeless threshold. If your eyes have not already closed, you may allow them to grow heavier now. If your thoughts wander, let them drift without direction. There is nothing you must hold on to, nothing you must complete, nothing you must solve. Just rest. Before we end, I'll offer a gentle reminder. If this slow storytelling helped you relax or fall asleep, you're welcome to like the video, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment. Only if it feels natural and peaceful to do so. Many listeners share where they're tuning in from and what time it is, and over time, those small messages feel like quiet lanterns across the world. Tiny reminders that none of us rest alone. But you don't need to do anything right now. You're already exactly where you need to be. So breathe deeply. Let the past fade softly into the background. Let the present grow still. And allow sleep, the ancient healer, to come to you in its own time. Good night from the sleepy historian.